Hello, trading friends, and welcome back to Forex Focus, brought to you by IG. Bitcoin giveth, Bitcoin taketh away in recent trading. Just when you thought it was safe, Bitcoin got back up to 70K in recent trade. You thought maybe they're going to make a new high and completely reversing course. Bitcoin crashing back towards 65K, depending on when you're looking at this. Right now, I'm seeing in recent trade the futures trading around 65K, as well as the spot market right around there, although bouncing back a little bit in recent trading. But either way, seeing this overwhelming trend of Bitcoin moving lower, the crypto asset class in general moving lower here, and traders moving into gold and US dollar, as gold especially is seeing crazy upside, and that's a market that's well through all-time highs, beyond 2,200, close to 2,300. We'll get to that as well as the US dollar piece in just a second, but let's take a look at the Bitcoin price action here. Down more than 5% in the last week of trading. Like I say, we had that move on to all-time highs above 70, reversed course a little bit, and then was able to bounce back and get beyond 70 again. And a lot of people, I think, at that point thinking, okay, well, that was just a little bit of a blip on our way to another new high, which you'll see sometimes in the S&P or NASDAQ market, is a string of new highs and then a little bit of a breather, maybe people taking some profits and then moving on to another new high. Not the case here, as this Bitcoin market has reversed course once again. Not yet at those lows that we saw a couple of weeks ago in the middle of March, but close to 65K, if not trading through it, depending on when you're taking a look at this. And this seems to be a broad fear story, because we're seeing the stock market start to turn over as well. I mean, the S&P is still well beyond 5,000, but the fear gauge for the S&P 500, the VIX, which gets its price from options on the S&P, and options prices tend to rise when people are trying to essentially buy insurance. They're fearful of the market falling. And this VIX gauge has gone from around 13 to around 15 in just the last couple of days, rising more than 7% on the same day where Bitcoin is off several $1,000s. And so it doesn't feel like it's necessarily a Bitcoin story. It feels like it's bigger than that. It's more of a macro story, fear entering the market at large. And you can't help but bring into this story the fact that one of the most timeless flights to quality, or maybe the original fear gauge before options were invented and the VIX came out of that, is this gold market getting not only to another new all-time high, but nearing 2,300, which it just felt like it was so far away, even though if you've watched gold prices in the last couple of years, you'll know that they've hit some new highs, especially since the pandemic. And this is a market that went from trading closer to 1,500 on average for years and years and years prior to the pandemic, to now hitting $2,000 multiple times. But even then, this market was very comfortable trading, as you can see here, the last couple of years, in that range of 1,800, maybe 1,700 or below, all the way up to 2,000, getting close to 2,100, but never really breaking it. And now it's been, crazy, seeming almost like a straight shot from around $2,000 up close to 2,300. We'll see if this is where gold stops and takes a breather itself, or if this is, just one stepping stone onto 24 or even 25, as volatility definitely entering that market as well. But what's really interesting about this is, gold is a commodity that's priced in US dollar, and most textbooks might say, oh, well, if people are buying gold, They're probably selling US dollars to buy that gold. And you could even make a bunch of macroeconomic arguments about how, oh, well, people are not so confident in governments like the U.S. or traditional currencies like the U.S. dollar, and so they're flocking to gold. People are flocking to gold and U.S. dollar here as Bitcoin is crashing. As we've got the euro back under 108, we've got the pound back under 126 and looking at 125, and you've got the dollar versus the yen close to 30-year highs of 152. So it's not necessarily like we're seeing this unprecedented run to the upside in gold, which we are seeing, but not at the same time as Bitcoin and US dollar are both crashing. This US dollar has held in, and this historical negative correlation, or the theoretical inverse relationship between a gold and a US dollar, we're just not seeing it right now. As of course, gold is performing better. It's ripping through all-time highs, but a euro under 108 and a pound under 126 and a dollar yen up above 151, those are some pretty strong US dollar prices historically speaking. And so really interesting trends, because if it's just gold and US dollar, you might expect one to move higher, the other to move lower, and vice versa. But the recent fear being seen in both crypto and a little bit in the stock market, lifting both gold and US dollar. Now the question becomes, where can Bitcoin go from here? Well, I've got some good news and some bad news. If you're a crypto bull, the good news is, it could, given BTC volatility indexes similar to the VIX, a 75% volatility, which is where that vol is around right now when we were checking it here today, that projects a potential move of close to $50,000 to the upside. Wow, that would be great. That would get well beyond 100K. That would be great for those crypto bulls. But keep in mind that volatility works in both directions. That also projects a potential fall of close to 50K, which would get us right down to those lows that we saw in the later part of 22 and the early parts of 2023 before crypto made its comeback throughout the last year, under 20K. And so a lot of different prices on the table, which makes a lot of sense, right? If you've been trading or watching Bitcoin in recent trade, this market's been moving $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 pretty regularly. And so volatility's escalated. And so when you're talking about projecting for the next year of trading, a plus or minus $48,000 move, it kind of makes sense. We'll see where the market goes, if it moves higher or lower. But I guess trend across the board is volatility up in Bitcoin, volatility up in that gold market. US dollar is also holding on to some bullishness as traders, at least for right now, moving out of Bitcoin and moving into that gold and US dollar market. We'll see if the trends continue or reverse at that $65,000 price for Bitcoin.